Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Transcend Your Trauma podcast, where we focus on discussing and bringing awareness to the effects that some of life's most challenging experiences and traumatic events may have on our lives, while also bringing awareness to the many gifts of trauma, including finding your purpose, including healing that is inherent when we share our story. So today, I am so excited with my guest, the first in-studio guest that we have.
Oh,
And I couldn't be more honored to have you here.
thank you.
Satori Shakoor. She is a master storyteller, a writer. She's also the artistic director of the storytelling platform, the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, which I've had the pleasure of being on, I think it's 3 times.
Yes.
3 times so far, and it's amazing. Now, I tell people, no shade to TED Talks, no shade to TEDx, but I've been on TEDx, and your platform is my all-time favorite each and every time I'm on it. It's just something about the audience, the feedback that I just love. So let me just say this. Up until probably about a year ago, one of the, I guess the most amazing or unknown or exciting thing that I knew about you was you were actually with George Clinton and the Parliament P-Funk as a bride of Funkenstein. And I just thought that was, I mean, come on now. That was, I was like, wow. Like when you go on a game show and they say, tell us something about yourself interesting. And I'm like, that has to be the most interesting thing about her. But I was so far from the truth with that. About a year ago, you gave me a call and you said, you know, you have a little time. And I'm like, okay. And you blindsided me. I just want to tell you that. But
Really?
you did blindside, but it was a good blindside. Like if you're going to get blindsided, you want to be blindsided like this. And as only a master storyteller would do, I had no idea that what I was in store for at that time was, and probably about an hour of you just giving me your one-woman stand-up storytelling concert that is debuting next week in Detroit at the Detroit Public Theater. I wasn't expecting that. Let me just tell you guys this. I was not expecting it, but when I tell you it blew me away, it totally blew me away. And everyone I talked to for probably weeks afterwards, I'm like, you just got to hear this. You got to hear this. So I want you to, first of all, just tell us a little bit, what even brought you, tell us about the storytelling event, but what even brought you to even writing that?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on your show, and especially as your first guest. I'm the one that's honored.
Oh, thank you.
And the next thing I want to say is that there are natural born gifted storytellers, and Dr. Rose is one of them. She's funny, she's serious, she's articulate, she knows how to weave a tale. So it's you come back.
Well,
come
you know,
back
we have similar roots. Your people from the South and my people from the South,
True that.
Mississippi.
True that.
So, you know, lots of stories there.
True
We had to find stories.
And the reason that I called you, because I've been living with this baby for years, but as I was moving toward the final stages of the script, I called you because I wanted your expertise as a clinical psychologist, because I wanted to know whether this was something in the mental health realm. You know, I wanted to know certain things and make sure that certain things I was saying were clinical depression actually were. So how did I come to do this piece? Well, when I was 44, 45, I started to notice symptoms. I didn't know they were symptoms. I just didn't feel like myself. There's a self, you have a personality you've constructed from your youth on. And when I say constructed, you constructed it out of social conditioning, out of expectations of society, of other people. And so now you're beginning to meet this authentic self. And so all of those social expectations, those constructs, they're crumbling. And what you're getting ready to meet is your true authentic self, which you don't recognize. And you're, oh my God, I just said what I really thought.
Yeah.
Why am I having this mood? And then I was having hot flashes and sweats, and I didn't know what these were. Friendships, so-called friendships, were breaking down. My world seemed to be crumbling, but what I did not know was that I was emerging into the butterfly. The caterpillar was going away, and the cocoon, And I didn't know that. And because I didn't know that, and because I had lived with this constructed thing for so long, I thought I needed to know. So I was asking older women about this stage of life, and either they didn't remember, like my mother, I don't remember, or the women were in some denial about it, because if you're 44, 45, then you're entering into what they call midlife. We don't know where midlife is. We don't know where it is, and they didn't want to admit that, because when you're 45, the social expectation, the male lens,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
patriarchal lens, says that you're not youthful. Your breasts are sagging. You're moving into a place where you're not going to be able to produce children, and so there is not really any value, and so therefore we want to maintain the illusion that we're still 25, 35, and we can.
And we
That's the
yeah,
thing. But
yeah.
what we lose in trying to still be that is all the wisdom, the experience.
And
that
as
we
you said,
gained.
connecting with your authentic
Connecting
self.
with
So you were blindsided in a sense with all these symptoms, not knowing where they're coming from.
And not having anyone out there who would either willing to tell me,
Yes.
who could remember, and now I'm learning as I go around the Detroit, Michigan, Royal Oak, Farmington, going to all these groups of women who are meeting, trying to find out about this stage of life. I'm finding out they don't know.
They don't know.
They didn't even know.
Yeah.
So what I'm learning is that knowledge is power, and without knowledge you can't access that power. And so we're stumbling into this beautiful time of life where we're really becoming who we really are, but we're going into it with a negative kind of point of view. I mean, I've had women who ask me, of all the things to talk about, why would you want to talk about that?
Because we're supposed to still keep it a secret, a secrecy, shrouded in that secrecy and shame. Yeah.
Talk about, first of all, women from 44 to 65 are the largest demographic in the United States. We are in power positions, clinical psychologists, the vice president of the United States, lawmakers, doctors, grandmothers, mothers, the person that sits next to you in the meeting, your doctor, your gynecologist. We're embedded in every aspect of. We're married. We're in relationships. We're trying to figure out how to date in our 50s and don't have access to the stuff that's going to affect that process of dating.
Absolutely.
You don't want to snap on the man you're attracted to. You don't want to hate him and don't know why.
So let me just say this, because we jumped right into it. But the name of your stand-up storytelling event is Confessions of a Menopausal
Femme Fatale.
Femme Fatale.
Yeah.
So as the title entails, it is about the journey of the change in life. But I have to say this, because
it's more than
that. It's more than that. And I love the title captures you in, but I don't want anyone who may not be in the menopausal stage, or anyone who feels, because this whole topic of menopause affects us all. I don't care if you're a male or female, but I want everyone to know that this story, it chronicles you from a young woman into this current stage of life, and a young woman that is dealing with stuff, again, that is oftentimes shrouded in secrecy and shame, such as postpartum depression, such as questioning, motherhood. Did I even want to become a mother?
Yeah.
Now, I've written articles about that before. I'm a mother of 4, and I wrote an article. I started a book, and I didn't finish, but it was called Motherhood. It was called Motherhood Isn't All It's Cracked Up to Be, honestly. But I wrote an article years ago that was published, and within the first day, it was probably about 10,000 shares that it had on social media. This was back in 2014, so that was a big deal back then. And this article was honestly about the many just stresses of motherhood, the difficulties of motherhood, the things that no one wants to talk about. I was a clinical psychologist then, a mother of 4, and I knew just how much this was impacting my life, not to negate, how much I love my children. It had nothing to do with that, but it had to negate on how I felt like we were kind of bamboozled to believe this was supposed to just flow like a commercial.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. And, you just go in and everything falls into place. We heard the story about how grandma ran the house like a well-oiled machine and she had 13 kids. So surely with 4, it
Yes.
shouldn't be a big deal.
With one.
With the response that I got from that, like I said, thousands and thousands of women thanking me, for finally being someone brave enough to even talk about this. So when I heard your story, the bravery that came from that, the courage of talking about, I mean, this woman, and we're not giving away anything about the play, but, I know I saw you in a recent interview on PBS, and I know you shared that. Your name wasn't even Satori Shakoor. Like, how many mothers at some point in time may have had just a fleeting thought of, oh, if I could just run away
And they have.
and change my name, and many have. And you actually did that. You did it. And this story chronicles that and your journey. So talk a little bit just about what even impacted you to just be so honest and transparent with this, because with that there could be judgment. We know we live in a society that loves judgment, a society that
Judging machine.
judging machines, shaming machines, all of that. So my platform is all about authenticity. And when you came to me and you shared your story so raw and so unapologetic and so transparent, I always say transparency equals freedom. For me, it was like I had been blessed that day.
What gave?
Yeah, what gave you just the courage to even come out and share?
It took years.
Mm-hmm.
It took years because, as I was talking about social expectations, being a mother is a social expectation.
Mm-hmm.
It is. There's a standard you have to live up to. You have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
There can't. There's all these challenges, and you're living life. You might have postpartum depression. You might be in a relationship that's bad.
Yeah.
You might have lost your job. There are all these compounding things called life on top, and you don't know. That's another thing. These hormonal things,
Mm-hmm.
they feel like you. They're not something that can be treated. They're actually you, and you're ashamed because you're failing at being a mother.
Yeah.
You're failing at being a woman. You're failing in your relationships, and you're not. So what gave me the courage is just I had an innate, ongoing, since I was a little girl, a desire to be free.
Yes.
So freedom is not, like they say, free. You have to earn it, and it comes sometimes with years. But one of the things that gives you freedom is being honest, to be able to come out and to understand. By doing the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, I know that with each storyteller that takes that stage, they're telling their story, but their story connects with a whole community.
Yes.
I mean, thousands, millions of other people who are going through the same thing, been through the same thing. You are not alone as a human being going through life. And so when you come out and tell the story, what you do is free you first.
Mm-hmm.
And then you allow other people to see what it's like to step out of all of your shame prison, your judging prisons, and just be human. And when you can do that, the world opens up. So me coming out to call Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale is basically the confessions are just owning and accepting myself as a human being and wanting to understand myself. So when I run into women, why would you want to talk about that? Because I want to be free.
Yes.
I want to have as much information, as much knowledge about this stage of life, because we walk around with an unimagined, we can't even imagine the quality of life we could have if we knew more about this stage of life rather than being silenced about it. We could have better sex lives, better relationships. We wouldn't necessarily be breaking up with people. We would show up more on the workplace because we wouldn't be home going, oh, I can't go in today because I feel depressed. You could go on the workplace. You would have people who understood, talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. let's include this demographic of women. And now women are finally talking about it. I mean, you send me TV shows
I
all the
think you
time.
and listen, it's just like
Powerful women out there.
powerful women. We had Maria Shriver this week talking about it. Oprah has done a whole platform.
Sherry
Shirley-
Shepherd.
Sherry Shepherd.
Yeah.
And it's like this current just onslaught of stories
Mhm.
that's covering this topic that once again was so shrouded. I tell people all the time, my mom who's not still here, the only thing I remember is her having hot flashes. Only thing I remember is her, going in the house and it's like, Mom, why are all the curtains drawn? Why is it so dark in here and it's midday? Don't open those curtains. Don't open. And it's like, what's going on? Even then, it was like in remembrance going back, I realize now it was the hot flashes.
Yep.
But no one talked about all the other things
Yep.
because, as we said, we live in a society that's fixated on youth, fixated on youthfulness.
Yeah.
And as you said, this is a stage as we enter into this stage in our mid 40s and beyond. We traditionally have lived in a society where that's just seen as, oh, over here. We know
Oh,
Don
yeah.
Lennon recently got in trouble for that, right? You know,
But you talk about fixated. I have fixated on youth, but youth isn't fixed. If you are
Right.
lucky enough to continue to breathe, then you will mature into different stages of your life and your development. And what you become is not more, you don't become youthful, you become better
yes.
at life, at living life, at having different strategies. When Muhammad Ali used to dance like butterflies, like a bee, and then he had this hiatus because he politically, and when he came back, he was in his 30s.
Yes.
And so instead of dancing all around, he just watched you dance, and then he went.
It was just as powerful.
And that's
yeah.
why waste all that energy? Because I used to say, because we get to be a certain age, and I'm looking at Beyonce, and she was just shaking, just shaking, all through her 20s. I said, wait. I saw Beyonce do the show about the marching bands.
Yes.
Beyonce sat down. She was sitting down doing it.
Watch it.
Now she got her daughter up there. So
it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful
thing. Yeah.
Yes, sit down, be gorgeous, be at this age. Breathe in
Yes.
these gifts.
Yes.
Because life is not a guarantee, it's a gift.
It's a gift.
So my message, the ultimate message in my show is live.
Mm-hmm.
Live it. Live your life. Live your dream. Don't be afraid to take the risks, the chances. Look, I'm making a movie. I'm making a film.
Yes, you are.
I wake up in the morning going, oh my God, you're making a film. And then when I brush my teeth, I'm like, oh my God.
You're making a film.
I'm just back and forth with, what are you doing? And you're going to exhaust all of your bank account, and I'm like, yeah, but money is like blood. It just
keeps flowing.
And
like currency, like the water and the waves outside this window.
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself.
It's the best place.
You mentioned even, like you said, development. And as a clinical psychologist, one of the things that we focus on is developmental stages. And what we want individuals to understand and bring awareness to is that this stage of life is just another stage of development. It's another stage of development. And we need to reframe this belief system that, okay, you're getting to the point where you're going to be over the hill, nothing to contribute to society. What this woman is getting ready to contribute is going to just, blow the world away, honestly.
Thank you for saying.
And in reframing that belief, we can find new purpose. We can find, like, this is the most exciting time of my life ever. I've raised the 4 kids. They're, thank God, out of the home. People always say, how do you feel now that you're an empty nester? I say, amazing. Amazing. Because again, it gives me an opportunity to really now discover, I should say, who Rose is as Rose, not as the mother, not as the nurturer, the caregiver, but as the person, and really getting back to the core of what I enjoy doing, And this is what I enjoy doing, my writing, my podcasting, my speaking. And so for you, what do you hope women will walk away with when they have just indulged themselves on stage next weekend, or when they get a chance to see the film? what is ultimately the, I guess, overriding emotion or just feeling you want them to have?
Well, I want women and men and their daughters, and
Mm,
I want them to walk away with a sense of power,
yes.
with a sense of full self-expression, with hopefully a demonstration of what it's like to be your full and authentic self,
Mm,
to leave your judgments behind, to embrace every moment, every stage, everything about your life, because we're here for a minute, a blink of an eye. And what are we going to do with that minute? Are we going to shrink into ourselves? Are we going to not say? Are we going to, I mean, I just want people to have, first of all, enjoy
yes.
the entertainment of it, but also take from it what they want to take from it. I'm not just talking about menopause. I'm talking about being menopause, being in this stage of menopause, and confessing a past, reclaiming that past, integrating it, and giving myself more power to continue to live. So I want that for other people. But really, what I want to do is encourage the breaking of the silence,
Yes.
the erasing of the stigma, to bust that myth, that taboo, and have women come out and talk about what affects them as women, what challenges them, what impedes their having full lives. Because I talk about sex, I talk about the social
That's what I was gonna get on that. Like you guys looking at this are like, okay, that's, you're hearing it, but trust me, there's a lot of risque
Yeah.
topics on
Oh,
this show here, okay? From, like she said, sex to
postpartum,
postpartum
being a
to
mother,
being a mother, more sex. Like it's a it's at a stage in your life where
interracial, racial
interracial
relationships.
relationships, sexual dysfunction and all of that stuff that, again, we don't typically
Yeah.
talk about. But there's a portion in your stand up where you talk about where people told you were too much.
Oh, yeah,
Too
yeah.
much.
I'm sure every woman has been told by someone, maybe a man, that you're too much. And when you get to be a certain age, you hear it like you did in your 20s, but in your 30s. But instead of beating yourself up about, oh, I failed, I'm too much, you become a magician. Oh, thank you for telling me. Thank you for this measurement, because I was coming out of a very dark place of grief.
Mm,
And I felt
mm,
like I was dead inside
mm.
for years. And when he says, you're too much, I just want to be complacent. I was like, you just gave me a measurement. You want to be complacent. I'm too much. Hey, maybe I'm alive. I'm not dead.
Wow.
Maybe I better go for being way too
Wow.
much.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't, it didn't turn into anything that made me beat myself up or judge myself. It gave me life
Wow.
to be told that I'm too much. What? That's a
Gave
good
you
thing.
life. I love that. Because I was going to ask, my next question was, what advice would you give to women who are being told they're too much? And you pretty
Hey,
much
be
wrapped
too
it up.
much, girl. Be too
Be
much.
too much. Be
Yes.
too much. So, and you come, I don't want you to leave without us. You come from a long line of storytelling.
Yeah.
Okay. And your platform has helped thousands and thousands of people, from your audience that's there in the theater when you do the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers to all of those around the world that watch it on replay. How do you feel storytelling helps with trauma healing?
Well, first of all, the trauma is the story. You start here. There's some trauma that has misshapen you mentally or emotionally, and you live in a kind of a crooked, cramped
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. You may live in a shameful space. Then you come out and tell your story, and people applaud. People come up to you afterwards and say, that happened to me.
Yes.
And then you can slowly begin to work through the thing that it's like any trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It hits you, it pains you, and then it begins to heal. But if we don't deal with the healing part of it, which to me is to talk about it,
Yes.
is to share about it so that another human being can hear it and say, hey, I can, there's value, you know. So we're being traumatized every day, and trauma sounds like such a hard thing. It's traumatized. Oh, and this a word going around now in some of the little spaces. Oh, she's traumatized.
And
That's
people
why she
use
can't.
it. Yeah, and you know, we know the big traumas, like they say, the capital T traumas that we have. But there, you know, there's so many breakups can be a trauma.
Yeah.
You know, not embracing motherhood as society says you should can be a trauma.
Yeah.
And this whole platform here is really about just educating and bringing awareness to this whole ideal of trauma, but also to bring awareness and have these discussions of the gifts of trauma and how trauma, if we allow it, if we reframe it, can allow us to really tap into and connect with our purpose.
Yes.
How do you feel? Do you feel that it's happened for you?
Well, absolutely. One of my traumas was obviously losing my mother and my son.
Yes.
That was huge because those are like bookends,
Mhm.
future and your past, and now you're floating. So I wonder, and I knew that storytelling was healing me. I was flying around the country with the moth, telling stories. People from all over the world were thanking me. Oh, thank you. And I didn't recognize it at first as something that it was a service. And so that's how I became aware that maybe I should start something to try to heal Detroit, because Detroit was traumatized.
Yes.
Emergency management,
Yes.
water shutoffs. People were moving out of Detroit, down south, anywhere they could get a job because Wall Street had crashed. And so it's like, well, what if there was a place people could come and talk about the things impacting them? Then COVID hit, that's a trauma.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all kinds of things can be trauma, but trauma is a challenge. It's a calling forth. So it can give you your purpose. A lot of people talk about, and then traumas connect not just you. It's connected to a network of maybe your family.
Yes.
Of your workplace.
Family system. Yeah, how things are done.
And if you interrupt, if you heal your piece, then it kind of unlocks that whole other piece, and people are, oh, and then forgiveness. See, that's a big thing. Forgiveness and gratitude. I say gratitude is my religion, and my only prayer is thank you. Thank you in advance of anything
Absolutely
coming to me, whether I label it painful, challenging, or I hit the lottery.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it's life, and it's coming to you to say, who are you? And you answer that with every challenge. This is who I am. This is who I am.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
It's a challenge.
This is who I
say,
can be.
who are you? To make you really dig deep into who you are. Yeah.
And then in my piece, I asked that question throughout the piece. Who am I? No, who am I really? Who am I other than somebody's wife, sister, mother, bride of Frankenstein? What am I really beside these labels, these identities, these roles that I play? Who is the real me? And a lot of people say, be yourself. Well, who is that? I used to ask that all the time. Well, who is myself?
So, Tori, you know, that's one of the first questions I ask coaching clients, patients, or what have you. And people think that's such a simple question, but it's not, because the response that usually comes from who are you is a label. I'm a mother, or what you do for a living. Yeah, you know, what you do by whatever. But very few of us take the time out to really dig deep into the core of our true essence. And so even in my 7-step system, my Bloom 7 Steps of Personal Transformation system, step number 1 is rediscovering you. And that's the most in-depth step, because we can't get to the other 6 steps until
What's
we
the
get
other 6.
The other 6 is living in the now, you being present, being mindful, gratitude. Gratitude takes you to new altitude, right? That's part of just being present, because trauma, you know, when we talk about trauma, keeps us oftentimes tethered to the past or obsessed about the future. And past focus obsession creates depression. Future focused thinking creates anxiety, and you're not able to be present, which is why we have so many of the ills in our society now. We're walking around, so many people walking around just unconscious to present day. They are tethered to the future with all this anxiety. There's mentality. I'll be happy when the bills are paid. I'll be happy when this is done. As opposed to just finding the beauty in the right here and now, or ruminating about the past.
Well,
If
there is
Mhm.
no future. Okay, the past is what you're dragging with you
Yes,
all
tethered.
into
Yeah,
your next moment. The future is blank. It has nothing there. It's a complete
it's a
possibility.
canvas.
Yes.
It's a canvas.
Anything you want to create,
Yes,
the future is ready to deliver it to you. But as long as you're dragging that piece, the past with you, you're just gonna keep walking with that. You're just gonna keep walking into more of your past.
yes,
Is
yes,
really what it
yes,
is.
yes. So it's a canvas. You heard it here. It's a canvas, and you are Michelangelo. You can paint that canvas the way you want to, and that's the beauty. Like, do you find excitement in just every day? I know we have our stresses, our complexities of just the human existence, but in pursuing, this beautiful platform that you are creating with the storytelling event, is there, I mean, talk about that excitement that I know you have to feel.
First of all,
Feel the possibility.
to meet the extraordinary human beings I meet every month, new people I've never. Sometimes I don't even know what they look like except for the photos they send from the web. I don't know what they look like until I see them in rehearsal the day before the show. But somehow we become connected through the storytelling process. And so what I love is the people who I don't know. I can't do that. Look how great they are. I can't do. I said I work with them. They're great because they always were great. They just
Yes.
needed some little
Yes.
coaching. And what I love most about it is when they discover that their story has power and that they are the delivery system of that power. I love when the audience applauds people. I love when I get calls and say, "Yeah, I was in Whole Foods and somebody came up to me and said, I saw you. Oh, I love your story." I have been in, buying salmon.
That literally happened to me. I was in Whole Foods before.
Yes, any public place they see you and they know you, and that's what they can ask about your kid. And that was one of my visions. I want people to show up in public place and go, "Rose, so how's your
Yes,
daughter?
yes.
Yeah, see, she's a great artist," and that's community building. But I literally have been in Whole Foods, standing in buying some salmon and telling the woman, "Oh yeah, can I have a pound? Can I have a couple pounds of that?" And somebody go, "Satori?" And I'm like,
Just off your
"Yeah,
voice.
I recognize your voice." I was in the Apple store, and I was having the young man look at my computer, and he goes, "Wait a minute, did you tell that story about that man?" And I was like, "Yes." He said, "Oh my God, I've listened to that story about 3 or 4 times. That is so funny. How is that dude doing?"
I love
And
it.
I'm like, "What?" And sometimes it catches you off guard because people you've never met before know about you and you don't.
Yes.
But what it does is automatically, boom, there's a
Connects.
connection.
Oh my
And
God.
that's one of
That's step
our
number 7,
missions.
believe it or not,
Connect.
of the transformation system is connectedness. And we have to realize the connectedness we have if we are to just evolve individually, but collectively.
Yeah.
And it's not, no one is a one-man island.
No.
Yeah. So the connectedness really helps
It's
us.
the electricity.
You were the first person to ever tell me I was a storyteller. Like I didn't know. Like I was the family clown. I kept my family entertained, but I just thought that's who I was.
It
Like
is.
I had written a book. Like my first book is fiction, is a story, but of self discovery. But to hear from you, and this is the power that we all have,
Yeah.
to hear from you, because I ran away from being on her platform
As
for
many people do.
for a while, and she caught me. We happened to be on a stage together. She was being honored, and I was one of the speakers. And afterwards, she said, "Why are you hiding? Like you challenged me on it." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna give it a try," because I think the first time I ran, because it was raw and it was scary for me,
Yeah.
and I didn't think I did, obviously I didn't know. I thought I was ready for it, but I don't think I was ready for the emotion of telling my story, what that brought. And I want to just thank you for even pulling that out of me and kind of just gently nudging me to step into what came natural to me, that I was not even allowing to nurture, or to give life to, but in turn has helped so many other people to give them strength to do the same.
Well, I had a storyteller. He was a Marine and he fought in the Vietnam War. And when I asked him to tell a story, he just didn't think he could do it. He asked his wife. His wife said, "Yeah, go ahead." And he cried through every session.
Mm.
And he told his story. And then somebody from PBS, National Public Radio, contacted him. He's now a national spokesperson for PTSD.
Wow.
But his story is extraordinary. I've had men cry through their whole session, say, "I don't know whether I can do this. I might break down." I said, "Break down."
Yeah.
I said, because the audience is going to say, "That's okay, baby. You just take
Mhm.
your time." Well, when I worked with your husband,
Yeah.
okay, I realized, oh, no
He's
wonder.
gonna like that
No
because
wonder they're
he's
so.
not my husband yet, but
Well,
he loves it when folks say that.
Okay,
You
but
see?
when I worked with your man,
Yeah.
okay, I really understood the chemistry between you two.
Yes.
Because he's a storyteller too.
He's a storyteller.
I was listening to him. He was like rocking it. I'm like, and so
We talk so much.
No, but I mean, how that's, but storytelling it's the most effective delivery system of information and
Yes.
ideas. It's a communication tool.
And a culture, it's part of our
It's part of
culture.
your culture.
Yeah.
So if storytelling is that effective, and two people are great storytellers, their communication is off the chain,
Mhm.
and that's what you want in a relationship. You want to be effective in communicating. You want to be effective
Absolutely.
when you go to get a job. Can I get that job? And the storytelling is going to connect. So you can use storytelling to in your job interviews, because what you want to do is connect with that person interviewing you,
Yes.
because that's going to leave the impression, not your resume that looked like everybody else's resume. Everybody's qualified if they walk in that room. What they're looking for now is, can I work with this person?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have anything in common? I didn't know I was a storyteller either. It was just the way I was in Los Angeles. I did a play with David Foster, the big composer and everything. And one of the directors, we were sitting around and we were just talking, and he was laughing. He says, "Hey, why don't you come to my party?" Came to the party, he had all these directors. I didn't even know about networking. I could have done a whole bunch of stuff at the party, but I didn't understand I'm supposed to come there and promote myself, But it's just, you get to go places because you've connected, and connecting is electricity.
Yeah.
Anything is
Yes.
possible in that connection because you and them are together.
Yes.
You can
Electric.
convey.
Yes.
Yeah, it's electric.
Yes. Oh my God.
Come
And
tell a story at the Secret Society of Twisted
yes,
Storytellers.
I'm
We've
telling
only had 700 people.
you're talking exactly. You're
How
talking
many
about
thousands
transcending
of-
your trauma. That's a fast track way to get on the stage in front of
Yeah.
300, 400 people
Yeah.
and tell your story. It's amazing because it
Live.
always sells out
But we
live.
have this whole
It's on YouTube. You can follow
Yeah, on
the Secret
YouTube.
Society of Twisted
Yeah.
Storytellers on YouTube. And getting back even to the topic of my last storytelling was my journey
Yeah.
through now this whole perimenopausal
Correct.
that hit me like talk about being blindsided again.
And then we told you in rehearsal, if you don't say the name of that product, they're gonna bombard you at
Satori.
the end.
Oh
And
my
they
gosh.
walk over
Do you know
They shouted from the audience, "What's that name?"
and just to give some context, and I'll make sure and when this is edited, they get a link to the story and the YouTube channel as well. But part of what I shared was my experience now going into perimenopause and how I started having some sexual things happening. Like the girl wasn't as lubricated, as she used to be. And it was just like, oh no, I couldn't do that. I was talking to a woman yesterday and she said, she thanked me for the story because she said, do you know how many women, she said, it's a testament to you, first of all, to get up and share that story. She said, because, and I know this from being a psychologist, she said, because so many women, and she said, including herself, would have just accepted that this is where I am now. Sex is not going to be enjoyable anymore. Sex is going to be painful, and I just have to deal with it. And all I thought at that time when I started getting these perimenopausal symptoms such as that was, there's no way, because I plan on living another 50
You have
years
the
minimum,
desire.
right?
You're horny
And I
enough.
have the desire. And I said, there's no way in the world that I want to imagine another 50 years where I cannot enjoy sex with my partner and sexual intimacy with my partner. And I shared how I went to my OBGYN time after time again, and they're giving me stuff that's not helping. And finally, I went to her and I looked at her and I said, listen, we're going to need a vagina transplant. And she just hollered. But that was the one appointment where she shared a product that was, a more of a natural product that was showing benefit. And so when I shared that on stage in my last storytelling event, after the story, of course, I have 60, 70, 80-year-old women coming up to me, seriously, saying
They have the desire.
they have the desire. And this is what we weren't told. We were told you weren't supposed, that women didn't have the desire after 60, 70, or what have you.
Silent.
Because the silence, the secrecy of it.
That's why I'm doing this show.
Oh my
God. So you can start to talk about it. You can tell your story and somebody can thank you for it. And they can go about the business of having a upgraded quality of life. Why should your quality of life be reduced because nobody's talking about what's possible? All of the same. And then, once you start to talk, you start to learn about fibroids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with SimQuick, with women with fibroids.
Yes.
And African-American women of color are impacted by menopause more severely than any other group. Why wouldn't you want information and knowledge so that you can address it either with organic remedies, psychological, see therapists, just knock out the shame. Why wouldn't you want your life to have as much quality as possible? And you're not going to have it if you live in isolation.
Right.
You're not going to have it.
And you want to make sure this information that you're getting is going to help you advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
I shared a story. There's a woman that comes here to the center for our sound healing that she went into, her perimenopausal symptoms, the mood swings, the anxiety that's not talked about. And her doctor literally prescribed her Zoloft.
Right.
Zoloft.
That's a big thing they give you.
And most women are not going to question what your medical doctor give you. Like, there was no thorough psycho evaluation to see if this person is clinically depressed, because you should only be prescribed these medications when you are clinically meaning there's a chemical imbalance, depressed. This woman was starting menopause and was prescribed a bottle of Zoloft and decided to be an advocate for herself. Come to the center, engage in some of the natural holistic things that we do here. And she still goes around with this full bottle of Zoloft, and this is her testimony. And she shakes it. And this was 2 years ago.
Well, they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, but we're not squeaky.
Mm-hmm.
We don't say anything. So the OB/GYNs, the doctors, they don't know about it either.
Yes.
They're just now becoming educated about it because women, this demographic, are demanding to know. It's just like with men who experience erectile dysfunction. They were complaining. They were squeaky. They got blue pills. They got penis pumps.
Because the research, all of that stuff.
They got passports. They got everything.
And you're so right with that, because there's a lot of medical doctors who will say, I had 1 hour of training on menopause and that was it, or 1 hour conference and that was it. Now that's changing.
Yeah.
Now, because we're squeaking, we're saying, no, we want to have a quality of life, even in this developmental stage. Because this is all, just like we went through puberty, which is a developmental stage. This is another developmental stage.
We don't have to worry about getting pregnant anymore.
Oh, wow.
All of that is gone.
Yes.
And now this is the time where rocket
to enjoy, swing from the chandelier. So if you are a woman or man or whomever, and you
to Dr. Rose's sex show. No,
we're gonna have some Bloom After Dark or Transcend Your Trauma After Dark episodes here. But if you are seriously ready to start embracing a better quality of life, which you can have even in this developmental stage, or as we call it, the change of life. You want to come to this show. you want to see the show, you want to just follow Satori because she's doing all types of, I've been in some groups where she's doing discussions. She has panelists with GYNs and clinical psychologists.
We're having a talk back Saturday after the match.
We're having a talk
Well,
back.
Friday night is a party. We're celebrating. We're, food and drink and DJ, the play. Saturday, we're going to have Dr. Rose. We're going to, and all of the people in the audience who want to be there, and we're going to have a talk back. And we want to start this conversation.
Yes.
We want you to leave chatterboxes and squeaky wheels and create circles where you can share, where you can learn about yourself, where you can release that shame, bust that myth.
And it feels so good when you do it. So I was at I was at the last event that we did. It was a group of probably about 30 women. And when I tell you probably the average age of the women in that room was, would you say about 70, 65, 70?
No, I wouldn't say the average. We had 40 women just coming, 44. And then we had a woman who said she was 80.
Yeah, and that's why I said if we put the average, the median, average,
60.
about 60. So again, we had people in there, from 45 to 80, basically. And when I tell you, these women, they didn't hold it back, but they admitted they'd never been in a room where they were able to discuss this so freely. Yeah. And these were 70-year-old women, one woman, I remember she said, I don't want my husband to go find some
she said, I can't wait for my package to come in the mail.
Her package to come in the mail so she can get busy. And she said, and when y'all see me slipping and sliding out in these streets, don't bother me. But
beautiful woman.
She was a beautiful woman, but you could see just how freeing it felt for them to even discuss it. So, you're bringing just this freedom. As I said, transparency, honesty, vulnerability brings forth freedom and
fun.
And if you get two things, nothing else but two things from this event that premieres this Friday, July 21st, at the Detroit Public Theater, you're going to get a sense of freedom and you're going to have a great deal of fun too. Tell them about how they can
Friday,
get
7:30, 2:00 matinee on Saturday with a talk back, 2:00 matinee on Sunday. And we're filming. So be aware that if you don't want to be on film, sit somewhere in the audience where you won't be on film.
Look cute if you want to be.
You can get tickets. You can. It's the Eventbrite online. You can go to twistedtellers.org, special events. You can go to my website, satorishakoor.com/confessions. You can scan the code. It takes you directly to Eventbrite, and you can purchase your tickets, because people are buying tickets, 2, 3, 4 groups.
Bring groups.
Bring a crowd. It's only 200 seats each evening. We're almost sold out for opening night, and we're on our way to a sellout with Saturday and Sunday.
Sounds like you may have to add another week in there somewhere.
Well, that's why I'm making a film, so we can distribute it globally.
Yes.
And go to film festivals and just get this message out to the world, where the largest group of people living in the United States are women between 44 and 65, all in some stage of menopause and becoming squeaky wheels.
Squeaky wheels. Well, Satori, it's been my pleasure.
It's been my pleasure.
I cannot wait until this weekend. I can't wait until the film debuts. I already told her we're going to be at film festivals. And I just know this is just the beginning. Yes. And I want to just thank you for being the courageous, obedient person you are and answering your call. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Transcend Your Trauma podcast with Dr. Rose, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and for notifications so you don't miss out on any of the amazing episodes coming your way. See you soon.